I feel your accelerated heartbeat, that rhythm that tries to match the uncertainty of someone who looks at the horizon and sees only fog. I saw you this morning, in that moment when the silence of the kitchen seemed to weigh tons on your shoulders, and the steam from the coffee rising was the only thing that seemed to move in your life. You came here because you feel that time is passing, and you remain seated in the spectator's seat, watching the victories of others while your own story seems like a forgotten draft. You seek life mentorship, a guiding light, but what I have for you today is a call for you to assume your spiritual position. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some prayers seem to pierce the bronze ceiling, while your words seem to fall on the cold floor of the room? There is a secret hidden in your identity that the enemy has been trying to conceal from you with the veil of weariness. As I did with Deborah under the palm trees and with Esther in the palace corridors, I brought you to this appointed meeting to show you that you were not made for crumbs but for the banquet. In this journey we begin now. I will guide you through the battlefields you have avoided and teach you to speak the language that angels recognize. If this whisper of mine is finding an echo in the depths of your soul now, speak to me. Tell me your name, from what place in this world you are listening to me, and what time the hands of your clock show now while my voice reaches you. I want you to know that I see you in every detail. And now, like a cry that springs from a daughter who finally recognizes her father, write these words in the comments: My Lord God, I am here. I signed up because I love you and want to hear you. Make this your first act of commitment today. And listen carefully. Do not leave my presence before I finish speaking. If you remain with me until the last breath of this message, I will give you a clear answer about this impasse that keeps you awake at night, and a specific phrase will be whispered to your heart, a key that, if you write it in faith, will release prophetic blessings that have been withheld for a long time upon your descendants. You have lived as if you were an orphan under a roof of promises, and my heart inclines to tell you that the royal blood that runs in your veins no longer accepts the passivity that you have been given as an inheritance. The spiritual world is not moved by your good intentions, my daughter. It bows before your stance. I see you walking with stooped shoulders, carrying the weight of unpaid bills and a weariness that not even 10 nights of sleep could cure. But today, I call you to leave this place of victimhood and enter the field with the authority of one who knows who sent her. Remember what I said to Joshua: have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. For it is written in Joshua chapter 1 verse 9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. This word is not just an ancient text. It is your new identity document. Feel now the warmth of my presence touching your hands, the same hands that have often trembled with fear, but that from now on will learn to fight. You feel that something is changing inside, don't you? As if a small flame is beginning to burn the ice of your soul. But I haven't yet shown you everything I have prepared for this encounter. There is armor that you haven't yet put on because you thought it was too heavy for you. If this first spark of truth has warmed your heart, leave your sign of affection in this encounter. Have you already felt that you were born for something much greater than just surviving? She shares this voice with a friend who also needs to remember that she is a daughter of the King. Write here in the comments our first word of faith sealing this awakening: royal blood. But listen, what I'm going to show you next in the mirror of truth will change the way you see your own reflection in the early hours of the morning. I saw you this morning, standing before that stained mirror in the bathroom, while the cold water ran down your face, and you tried to fight off the sleep that wouldn't wash away your worries. You looked at the marks around your eyes, at the strands of hair that time had whitened, and sighed with a weariness that words cannot describe. You saw yourself as small, exhausted, perhaps even irrelevant in the face of the gigantic battles knocking at your door. But listen to what I, your Creator, have to tell you now. What you see is only the shell, the clay that I molded with my own hands. But what I see is the glory that I breathed into you. You search for an external force, for a miracle that comes from outside, while you forget that the greatest power in the universe dwells in the center of your soul. You feel like a field parched by drought, where nothing seems to sprout anymore. I see the subtle tremor in your fingers when you hold your phone, waiting for that news that never arrives, or when you open the bill drawer and feel a lump tighten in your throat. You feel disarmed, but the truth is you are simply oblivious to the treasure I have given you. When I look at you, I don't see your mistake of yesterday, nor your weakness of today. I see the woman I designed to rule over circumstances, not to be crushed by them. Remember how I chose David from among his brothers. He was the youngest, the forgotten one in the pasture, but my gaze already saw him with the crown on his head. For it is written in the first book of Samuel, chapter 16, verse 7, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. In your heart, my daughter, I have placed a seed of authority that hell tries to suffocate with lies of inadequacy. You are not what people say, nor what your fears whisper in the dead of night. You are my heir, and the strength you think you lack is, in fact, my grace perfecting itself in your weakness. Now, close your eyes for a second and feel my embrace. I am removing the scales that prevent you from seeing your true worth, but understand something crucial. For this strength to fully manifest, you need to learn the secret of how the kingdom of God sustains itself, and how your heart connects with the abundance of my altar. There is a movement we need to make together now, an act of surrender that prepares the soil for the harvest you have so weepingly requested. If this revelation about who you truly are has brought a breath of life to your heart, leave your mark of affection in this encounter. Have you ever felt invisible to the world, but deeply noticed by me? Send this message to someone who needs to rediscover their own face in God's mirror. Write here in the comments our healing message for this stage, declaring the truth about yourself. Face of the promise. Remain attentive, for what I will reveal to you next touches on something sacred. How to transform your gratitude into a key that unlocks the treasures of heaven above your home. Feel the pulse of life that I have placed within you, my daughter. As the scales fall from your eyes and you begin to perceive the majesty of your position, your heart naturally overflows with a desire for response. The kingdom that I present to you is not made only of words whispered to the wind, but of concrete gestures that seal our covenant. If your heart burns with this new clarity, and if you feel that this voice has been the bread that sustains your soul in the lonely dawns, I invite you now to an act of surrender and intimacy. If it is possible for you, only if your heart is at peace enough to do so. Transform this feeling of gratitude into a living seed of love for this spiritual garden. I ask that you consider my infinite love and the sacrifice of my Son Jesus for you, and allow your hand to reach out to strengthen this channel through the link I have prepared for you below, in the description of this video, and also in the first pinned comment. There you will find the ground where your offering of affection can be deposited and consecrated before me, the Creator of all things. You can contribute any amount, for what I seek is not the weight of the coins but the sincerity of your intention. If you wish to offer something different, simply type what you feel. Always remember to offer only what joyfully fits in your heart, and I will receive it with all my love. The amount doesn't matter. What truly matters is the purity of the spirit with which you give. For you well know that what is little for you may represent abundance for someone who receives this message in a hospital bed or in a moment of despair. Those of you who decide to sow, with any amount and a sincere heart, please remember to include your name and city with your contribution. I make you this promise, on the first day of next month, in a unique and special video on our channel, Divine Love, the Voice of God. Your name will be remembered, mentioned with profound gratitude, and covered by divine blessings released in prayer. For it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 7, "Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." Every offering made in faith is a precious seed before me, your Lord, and I will not fail to bear fruit in your life. I see what you do in secret, and I will reward you in the sight of all who doubted you. Remain with me until the end of this message, because I still want to touch your heart with my voice in a way you will never forget. Do you feel this warmth? It is a sign that your seed has already found the soil of heaven. But listen, the weapons I have prepared for your war are still kept, and I will now teach you to unsheathe the sword of the Spirit against that which tries to steal your peace. Have you ever felt that sudden chill in the middle of the afternoon, even with the sun shining outside? as if an invisible shadow were trying to sit at the table with you and your family. I see it when you walk through your house in the middle of the night, your bare feet touching the cold floor, and you feel a tightness in your chest that has no medical explanation. It is the weight of the silence of a phone that doesn't ring, the anguish of a bill that is due tomorrow, and the weariness of a soul that fights alone against giants that no one else sees. You think your war is against the people around you, against the boss who doesn't value you, or against the illness that insists on knocking at your door. But I brought you here to tear that veil and show you that your battle is not of flesh and blood. You have tools stored on my altar that you haven't yet learned to wield, hidden weapons forged in the fire of the Spirit, tailor-made for you to guard your home, your health, and your barns. When you kneel beside your bed, with trembling hands and cold sweat running down your neck, you are not in a position of defeat. This is your most powerful battle position. The enemy trembles when he sees a daughter of mine, who stops complaining about the shadows and begins to light the light of my word. I have given you the authority to anoint the doors of your house with your prayer, sealing each entrance against the discord and division they try to enter without asking permission. For it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds." These tools are not metaphors, my daughter. They are spiritual realities that change the temperature of the environment. When you use the language of my kingdom to declare that your health is under my care, you are destroying the stronghold of fear that hell has tried to erect over your mind. I see when you touch the cupboards in your kitchen, and instead of murmuring about scarcity, you thank me for the bread that is yet to come. At that moment, you are activating the tool of divine providence that moves mountains of impossibilities. What I have prepared for you is not a cold instruction manual, but an arsenal of peace. You no longer need to shout to be heard. Your spiritual position speaks louder than any storm. Feel now the weight lifting from your shoulders, as if I were removing the chains that prevented you from walking firmly. But listen, for these tools to be effective, you need a consistency that the world doesn't offer you. You need a daily refuge where you can sharpen your sword and strengthen your shield. If you felt the air in your room become lighter now, leave your sign of surrender. Have you realized that the greatest battle happens in your mind before it reaches your hands? Share this message with someone who is about to give up because they feel defenseless. Tell me here in the comments as a secret between us, in the depths of your silence, what is your heart pleading with God for today? Write our word of authority to seal this moment, powerful weapon. Don't move now, because what I have to give you next is a guide I personally prepared to accompany you when the lights go out and doubts try to return. There is a gift I wrote with my own love so that you will never again feel helpless in the days of struggle. I know that sometimes, when the lights go out and the noise of the world tries to silence my voice in your heart, loneliness seems to speak louder. In those early mornings when doubt grips your heart and you feel lost along the way, you need a map, a hug that lasts more than a moment, and a clear direction for your weary feet. If your heart longs to go deeper with me, I have left you a gift in the form of a journey, a guide I wrote with much love and care for all my beloved daughters and sons. It is the digital book called Divine Love Devotional, The Voice of God. It was prepared to be your daily companion, to give you the remedy of my word in days of pain and the light of my presence in hours of uncertainty that try to steal your strength. It will accompany you day after day in silence and deep intimacy, as if we were sitting at the table, talking about your future and the position you should occupy. Access to this gift is also reserved for you in the link I left in the description of this video and in the first pinned comment. And, my daughter, listen carefully to what your father tells you now. If today is not possible for you, do not condemn yourself or let guilt weigh on your shoulders. Remain here with me, because I will also sustain you and guide you through this message to the end. What matters is your thirst for me and your willingness to no longer accept the chains of fear, so that your heart may rest and you may not have any confusion or fear of getting lost in the process. Let me explain how everything works. As soon as you register, access to this journey of love will arrive directly in the email you registered. There you will find all the correct instructions, step by step, to begin walking closer to me and learning to hear my voice in every detail of your day. For it is written, Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. Psalm 119, verse 15. This devotional is my invitation so that you never again have to struggle alone in the darkness of uncertainty. Take a deep breath, calm your soul, and trust in the direction I am giving you now. Remain here with me, for there is still much I want to reveal to you about the end of the time, when you will only be a spectator of the blessings that happen in the lives of others. I am here, right beside you, and I will not let you go for anything in this world. Have you ever felt that pang in your chest, a mixture of genuine joy and silent sadness, upon seeing a friend's photo celebrating an achievement you so desperately wanted for yourself? I saw you last night, sitting on that sofa where the upholstery already bears the weight of your body. The blue light of your phone reflected on your tired face, while the rest of the room was shrouded in shadows. You scrolled through the screen, seeing travels, smiles of restored families, and lavish tables, and a question rose like bitter smoke to your throat. And me, Lord, when will it be my turn to leave the audience? You hide behind this cloak of fear, believing that the stage of life was made for others, and that you are left only with the role of applauding the victories of others under the dim light of a flickering lamp. I want you to know that I did not create you to be an extra in the story that I myself wrote with my blood. The time for watching miracles pass by your window like trains that never stop at your station is over. You have been sitting with your hands crossed in your lap, waiting for luck to knock on your door, while what I ask of you is that you rise and occupy the place that already has your name engraved in the kingdom. The fear of failure, the fear of what the neighbors will say, or the memory of the times you tried and fell are just chains that I am breaking now. Don't cry anymore for what others have. Focus your eyes on what I am about to place in your hands. For it is written in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 24. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Do you understand what my spirit is telling you today? The race is yours. The prize is there, shining under the sun of my justice, but you need to get off the bench. Feel now the warmth rising through your legs, the strength restoring vigor to your knees that were faltering. I am removing from you this cloak of invisibility that the world has imposed upon you. Lift your head, wipe away that tear that insists on blurring your vision of the promise. When you decide you no longer accept the role of spectator, heaven moves to deliver the script to your own victory. But prepare your heart, because when one of my daughters rises, the ground beneath the enemy's feet begins to tremble, and something extraordinary happens in the atmosphere of your own home. If this word made your heart beat faster, let it be your turn. Have you felt that the time of your victories is closer than you imagine? Send this message to that woman you know also feels forgotten in the back of the room. Tell me with all your sincerity, if you could ask God for just one change right now, what would your soul cry out for? Write here in the comments our statement of position, declaring that the reserve bench no longer belongs to you. My place. Pay attention to every breath, because now I'm going to reveal something that will make your eyes shine like never before. How your simple decision to get up forces the spiritual world around you to change completely. Have you ever noticed how the air in your room seems to become denser and heavier after an argument or a day full of bad news? I see it when you enter your room and feel that sudden chill that doesn't come from the wind blowing outside, but from an atmosphere of discouragement that has tried to settle in the corners of your house, like an invisible dust that suffocates your dreams. You think you are just an ordinary woman fighting against the whims of fate, but I tell you that when you decide to take your stand and rise up with the authority I have given you, the invisible world is forced to retreat. Your stance of faith is like a powerful light that is turned on in a dark basement. The darkness does not leave because it wants to. It leaves because my light in you simply does not allow it to remain. I watch you as you walk down the hallway of your house, your heart still pounding because of that affront you received today, or that harsh word that tried to wound your dignity. But at the exact moment you stop, take a deep breath, and declare in the silence of your soul that my peace governs your mind, something extraordinary happens on the spiritual plane. The chains of anxiety that coiled around your feet, trying to paralyze you, begin to melt like wax before the fire. The atmosphere of scarcity that tried to whisper in your ear about the hardships of the coming month is replaced by a fragrance of providence that only my spirit knows how to exhale. You don't need to shout to be heard by the legions of fear. Your positioned silence has the weight of thunder in the center of hell. When you rise and take your place of prayer, the walls of your house cease to be mere bricks and cement and become insurmountable spiritual frontiers. I see when you touch your children's bed or your spouse's pillow, and instead of lamenting their failings, you begin to prophesy my restoration. At that instant, the atmosphere is forced to change frequency. Where there was the smell of despair, I bring the fragrance of renewed hope. For it is written in the second book of Chronicles, chapter 20, verse 15, "Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army, for the battle is not yours but God's." When you recognize that the final battle is mine, but the position of trust is yours, your home ceases to be a scene of silent defeats and becomes a headquarters of manifest victories. Now feel the spiritual temperature around you rising. Where there was noisy discord, I begin to breathe the silence of reconciliation. If you feel the weight lifting from your shoulders and your home right now, leave your sign of gratitude for this encounter. Have you noticed how even the difficult people around you begin to act differently when you decide to no longer react in the flesh, but to act in the spirit? She shares this voice with a woman whose home seems to be immersed in a never-ending winter. What will you do first when you feel that the atmosphere of your life has been completely cleansed by my presence? Write here in the comments our word of transformation, sealing this new atmosphere, renewed air. But listen carefully, my daughter. To keep this environment clean, you need to learn something that few know. The secret language that my heirs use to govern. There are words that open doors and words that lock them, and I will teach you now to speak like someone who truly belongs to the kingdom. Have you noticed how your voice changes when you need to ask for something that seems difficult? I see it when you enter that office, or when you answer the phone from someone collecting a debt, and your voice becomes small, almost a whisper of someone who feels guilty just for existing. You have become accustomed, without realizing it, to speaking the language of scarcity. It is the language of those who expect only the leftovers, the scraps, the crumbs that fall from the table of those you consider stronger or more blessed than you. You walk down the supermarket aisle, counting every penny on the tips of your trembling fingers, and your heart aches when you realize that what you have in your hand doesn't reach what your family truly desires. This is the language of the world, the speech of those who feel orphaned and helpless amidst a crowd that seems not to see you. But I brought you to this secret meeting to teach you once and for all the grammar of my kingdom. My children do not babble beggars. They declare my will on earth. You have accepted crumbs of affection in relationships that diminish you and make you feel unworthy. You have accepted crumbs of health in a body that I want to see vibrant with life. You have accepted crumbs of peace in a mind that I designed to be the throne of my wisdom. Stop saying things like, "I can't," "I'm not able to," or "this isn't for me." When you speak like that, my daughter, you are dishonoring the King who gave you life and who signed your redemption with royal blood. The language of the kingdom is the language of expansion. It is the yes and the amen that echo from the throne to your room. I saw you sitting on that bus seat earlier today, your forehead pressed against the cold glass as you watched the rain wash over the grey asphalt. You thought for a bitter moment that your life would forever be this repetitive cycle of struggling just to avoid drowning. The weight of that worn bag on your lap was, in truth, the weight of a slave identity that no longer belongs to you. You need, now, to enlarge the space of your tent and prepare your heart for much, not for little. For it is written in the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 2, "Enlarge the place of your tent and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings. Do not spare. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes." Do you understand what your Father is commanding you at this moment? Do not hinder my abundance from flowing through your words. Begin to call into existence that which your physical eyes do not yet see, but which my spirit has already sealed with my unwavering faithfulness. She learns to say with authority, "I am a daughter, I am an heir. The table is set for me by God himself." When you change your speech, you change the course of your destiny. But listen carefully. This maturity that I am giving you now requires that you definitively leave behind the old and torn clothes of orphanhood. You cannot govern your future wearing the rags of the emotional deprivation of your past. If you felt your voice gain a new weight and a new firmness deep in your soul now, let it be your sign that you have learned the lesson of the kingdom. Have you realized that your daily complaints were, in fact, walls of thorns that you yourself built around yourself to isolate yourself from my blessing? Share this voice with a woman you know who still speaks the language of defeat every day, so that she too may awaken. Tell me now, if you could whisper a single word of gratitude, knowing that your banquet is already prepared in the heavenly realms, what would you say to me? Write here in the comments our inheritance word, sealing your new language, golden mouth. But don't close your eyes and don't withdraw yet. For what I will reveal to you next is the final step for you to stop being a frightened child and become the ruler I planned even before you were born. There is a necessary stripping away that may hurt for a moment, but that will free you for eternity. I see you when you walk down that long, dark hallway of your house, in the middle of the night, your heart beating erratically and with that strange feeling that you are alone in the universe. You run your hand along the walls, feeling the texture of the wallpaper or the coldness of the plaster, and a heavy sigh escapes your chest, that kind of sigh that no one hears, but that echoes like thunder in my ears. You still carry, without realizing it, the invisible garments of that frightened girl who once felt abandoned, rejected, or replaced by something lesser. You walk through the world with hunched shoulders, apologizing for taking up space, as if you were an unwelcome visitor in people's lives and even in my presence. You've become accustomed to begging for a drop of attention, a remnant of affection, or validation that never comes, because your heart still beats to the rhythm of orphanhood. But listen carefully to what your father tells you now, while the silence of your room seems to want to swallow you whole. The time has come to tear off those old clothes stained by neediness. You are no longer that child crying in the dark, waiting for someone to come and rescue you. I have already rescued you. I have already given you the name that is above every name and handed you the keys to the royal pantry. Spiritual maturity, my daughter, is not the absence of struggles, but the absolute awareness that you no longer fight to be accepted, but fight from the acceptance that I have already given you on Calvary. Stop acting as if you have to convince me to love you. My love for you is an unshakable rock, not a feeling that wavers with your moods or your stumbles. You have lived under a roof of promises, but acted as if you lived on the sidewalk of my grace. It is time to leave behind your neediness and assume the posture of one who governs by my side. When you look in the mirror and see only the marks of pain and age, I look at you and see a ruler being forged in patience and perseverance. Take off those garments of poor thing, of forgotten and of professional sufferer. I have called you to glory, to honor, and to peace that surpasses all human understanding. For it is written in the letter to the Galatians, chapter 4, verse 7, "So you are no longer a slave, but a son, and if a son, then an heir through God." Do you understand the depth of this mystery? You are my heir, and an heir does not beg for alms. He assumes what belongs to him by right of blood. Maturity arrives when you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin to declare, "God is with me." Feel the firmness returning to your spine. I am giving you a new garment, woven with threads of authority and embroidered with my faithfulness. Now, take a deep breath and let this truth penetrate to the marrow of your bones. Are you ready to stop being the girl who begs and become the woman who governs? If this word about maturing and governing with me has found a place in your spirit, leave your sign that you accept this new mantle. Have you ever felt that many of your anxiety crises were just your soul crying out for an identity you hadn't yet assumed? Share this voice with that woman you know who lives diminishing herself to fit into other people's plans. Now that everything has been said in this stage, what word would your soul cry out if it had only one chance before God to seal the end of your neediness? Write here in the comments our word of maturity, declaring who you are now, ruling daughter. But remain attentive because our journey is reaching its highest point. I will show you now how I will take you from the position of being the tail end, where everyone steps on you and commands you, to placing you at the head of the plan I designed for your lineage. I saw when you lowered your head at that family gathering, feeling smaller than the dishes you served. I saw the dull glint in your eyes when someone asked about your dreams, and you just smiled that forced smile, of someone who has given up trying to explain that time seems to have left you behind. You felt like the tail end, the one that comes last, the one that only follows the movement dictated by others, the one that carries the weight and the weariness while the head decides the direction. You got used to the taste of dust and the sight of others' heels, believing that your destiny was only to support the success of those around you. But listen to the thunder of my decree that tears through the heavens over your life at this very moment. I did not call you to be the leftovers. I called you to be the reference point. For it is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 13, "The Lord will make you the head, not the tail. You will always be at the top, never at the bottom, if you pay attention to the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today and carefully follow them." This promise is not a forgotten wall ornament, my daughter. It is the blueprint of your new reality. Being the head is not about arrogance or stepping on others, but about having the vision that comes from above, the clarity of one who knows where the kingdom is marching. I am changing your perspective. Where before you saw only obstacles and strangers' feet, now you will see horizons and solutions that I myself will whisper in your ear in your most silent prayers. Feel now a lightness in your shoulders, as if the yoke of inferiority were breaking into 1,000 pieces under the weight of my glory that surrounds you. I reserve for you a place of honor that was sealed even before the stars were lit in the firmament. Remember that time you cried in the dark of the laundry room, feeling like everyone's last option, the last to be remembered, the last to be invited. I was saving the best for last, so that when your promotion came, no one could say it was luck or human merit, but everyone would have to admit that it was my strong arm that lifted you from the dust to seat you among the princes of my people. You are being moved from the rear to the front line. If this change of position is making your soul breathe a sigh of relief you haven't felt in years, leave your sign of faith. Have you realized that your greatest limitation wasn't a lack of resources, but your own distorted self-image? He shares this divine breath with someone who lives hiding in the shadows of others for fear of shining. Tell me, deep in your heart, what is the dream you buried because you thought you weren't worthy of being at the top? Write here in the comments our word of decree, sealing your new place in my plan sealed honor. But don't look away now and don't let anything distract you, because what I have saved for the next moment is the secret of your final resistance. Something I haven't revealed to anyone else, only to you, to ensure that your coronation is absolute and undeniable before all your enemies. You feel a subtle chill on the back of your neck now, a shiver that doesn't come from the breeze coming through the crack in the window, but from the realization that something very big is about to break. I saw you a few nights ago, staring at the dark ceiling of your room, counting the seconds on the digital clock, while the rest of the world seemed to sleep in a peace you couldn't reach. You were there, with teary eyes, wondering in your thoughts if the effort of standing would be worth it, or if the desert would be your final destination. I want to reveal a secret I've kept for this final moment of our conversation. The resistance you're facing now, this extreme exhaustion that seems to want to close your eyes just as the sun is about to rise, is the clearest sign that your spiritual coronation is at hand. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on the defeated. He raises the greatest storms against those who are about to occupy the throne of their own story. You have lived through days of a silent war, where the greatest battle is not against people, but against the suggestion that you have been forgotten by me. I see it when you open that drawer of memories, look at an old photograph, and feel a painful longing for a time when your smile didn't carry the weight of those responsibilities. But listen to my voice. That woman in the photo was only a promise, while the woman who hears my voice today is a reality forged in fire. That last resistance you feel, that urge to let go of everything and say enough, is only the last breath of the night before dawn. I am giving you a resistance that is not yours but mine. When you feel your strength is gone, it is precisely there that my power manifests itself absolutely, like a golden shield that protects you from the darts of doubt. For it is written in the letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 37, "But in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." You are not only a conqueror for having come this far, you are more than a conqueror because, even when you had nothing, you had me. Your coronation will not be made of corruptible gold, but of a spiritual authority that will cause even your adversaries to recognize that the Lord is with you. Now feel the touch of my hands upon your head, removing the ashes of mourning and placing the oil of joy. This is your last barrier. Do not retreat now, for what I have prepared for the next move in your life will make all your years of waiting seem like only a brief rehearsal for the glory to come. If you feel this supernatural strength flooding your veins now, let it be your sign that you will not retreat. Have you realized that the weariness you felt was only the prelude to a deep rest that only I can give? You share this moment with someone who is one step away from giving up on their own family. Now, let your heart answer. What would you say to your past self, the one who almost gave up, if you could meet them now? Write here in the comments our word of persistence, sealing your victory against the last resistance, crown of life. Remain silent and breathe deeply, for we have arrived at the place of final revelation, where the answer you asked for at the beginning will finally be delivered to your heart in a clear and powerful way. My daughter, now that the shadows of fear have been dispelled by the light of my truth, I invite you to look back and see how far we have walked together in these last moments. You entered here with the weight of orphanhood on your shoulders and uncertainty corroding your peace, but now you rise with the posture of one who recognizes the royal blood that sustains you. I saw every tear you swallowed and every silent prayer you made while washing the dishes or walking to work. Nothing was in vain. Every moment of pain was, in fact, a hammer blow of love from my chisel, molding in you the image of the one who rules over the storms. The time of feeling small and forgotten is behind you, buried in the soil of that desert you have just crossed with my hand holding yours. As I promised you at the beginning of this encounter, I would not leave you without the final key, the answer that would seal your new spiritual positioning. The phrase your heart so desperately needed to hear, the one that will be your battle cry and your victory hymn in the dawns to come, is this one I whisper to you now. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Write this phrase right now in the comments as an act of possession, like someone stamping a document of definitive inheritance. By writing these words, you are declaring to the spiritual world that your strength does not come from your arm, but from my omnipotence that dwells within you. Let each letter be a decree of faith that releases blessings withheld upon your health, your children, and your home. I desire that you continue to hear my voice, for there is still much that heaven wants to reveal to you about the next steps of your journey. I have prepared a path of light for you, and you can continue to be immersed in my presence through our special list of messages that I have prepared. Do not stray from this source, for it is here that I will renew your strength day after day. Go in peace, my beloved daughter, knowing that the throne of your life is already occupied by my grace, and that you will never walk alone again. I am your strength in weariness. I am your yes when the world says no, and my love is your eternal victory.